Steve, what did you make of the win then against Lincoln on Tuesday?
Well, it's always good to win football matches, isn't it? I mean, it's been a lot while since we done that successful in League One. So, and again, against a good opponent, you know, Michael's had 4 or 5 transfer windows to put his stamp on things over there, and some good work with him and Jez George, their director of football. So a pleasing win, pleasing performance in large spells, not all of it, but it just shows you what happens and what can be achieved when you get your A-list players on the pitch.
Well, you talked a lot about Sean Raggett's absence when he was unavailable. What has he added to the team since coming back, and how good was it to see him ultimately get the winning goal?
Well, every time I've played against Sean Raggett's teams over the years, first at Lincoln and of course at Portsmouth. Done a couple of battles with him last season, and Sean Raggett was always showing his expertise in both boxes really. And we all know he's commanding and strong when the ball's going down the middle of the pitch, but in both boxes he's a real asset. And we've seen that to the fore at New York. We come a little bit pressure at different stages, and defensively he got big headers in at key stages. And he was always a threat from any set play we had. And the first time he got himself properly released up, he has a great delivery from Joe Pell, but a great header. And but he brings that wealth of experience. This is a guy who played almost every league game, bar 3 or 4 for the champions in League One last season. So he's always going to be a big asset when he's in your team.
How advantageous was it for you to come through a game where you've considered an equaliser quite quickly after half time, but rather than the game going against you at that point, you've actually gone on and still won the game in the second half? Well,
I think looking back at it, as well as memory and recollection, I think when they get the goal, Lincoln, I think we could do better with the goal. But when they get the goal, they had about a 10-minute spell where they've really turned the ball over and been progressive, and probably took over at that stages in the game. And in past weeks, that's when you've needed the Raggetts and Zach Jones, who I thought was outstanding as well. Big players like that then came to the fore, and they get a grip of the game defensively, and you take it and build it off a base, and that's what we did. So when we come through that little 10-15 minute spell where they took over after the goal, I think that we managed the game really well until, you know, it's interesting that Michael talked about we're a back to front team. Oh dear. Then we know who was back to front. And we had to defend long balls for the last 10 minutes, but again, we put Jamie McCart on, and when you've got particularly Raggett and Jones, and you bring McCart into that mix, we're going to win the bulk of those headers.
I want to ask you about Sam Nomby, because obviously he got the first goal, but also he did such an important job for you, didn't he, when he was tracking back, and his defensive duties were almost as important as his attacking ones on the night.
Yeah, we spoke before the game. We worked hard on it for the last few days before the game about how important our wide players would be in terms of defensively. We know what Sam Nomby, if in the last third of the pitch, he'll be creative, he'll get a goal, certainly get a goal. And we know what Malik Wills can do on the other side. So it was important that we got our players into a good place head-wise, that they had to help the full-backs, and they did that really. They did it with some real goal, particularly Sam. But listen, you know, we go out and train today, Sam will be the top end of the charts in terms of distance covered and sprint distance covered. It's a big asset of Sam Nomby's.
How do you build on it, the win against Lincoln?
Well, it should bring a little bit of confidence to the players. Everyone from the top level to our level and below us will say that how does players get confidence? How does team spirit grow? How do you become a unit rather than individuals? And you do that through winning football matches. You don't just put a group of lads together and say, they'll all be friendly and they'll all be good and they'll all have a tightness about them. It comes from being successful together. It's no different to why an SAS unit gets put together. 12 guys, and they put them away in the Cotswolds somewhere. They don't see anyone else for like 25, 30 days, and it's to build up that unity, to build in that we fight together, and but winning brings that.
This feels like an important game, because if you could win at Blackpool, I imagine the mood will just completely change around the place, and it will bring so much belief back to the players, probably to the fans as well. But if you lose the game, then it was just one win against Lincoln and then another defeat. So how important is this follow-up game now against Blackpool?
We must be in the same position as Charlton and Peterborough, don't we? Both of them having really good seasons, if you listen to the locals in those clubs, and yet we set a 0.2 difference. We have to just focus on the process, focus on having players available. We've always said when we have A-list team, if you like, the team that supporters would pick, that I would pick, that you would pick. If we can get them on the pitch, it gives us a real chance of winning games. What I know is what we travel to Blackpool tomorrow with, subject to no mishaps in training today or no injuries or illness overnight, then we give ourselves a better chance of getting a positive result at Blackpool than what we did 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it's no hidden secret. Manchester City suddenly had 1 or 2 better players back, in many people's opinions, in midweek, and they won Trounds Forest. Could have been 8. And you hear the manager talk about he had better team selection options. So when we've got that, we'll be fine over the course. And I've always said to you, when we go into January time, as we go towards the end of January, we'll be in a position to strike for the playoffs.
What was it like for you to feel that winning feeling again on Tuesday, Steve?
Well, it makes you sleep better, that's for sure. The way you get some sleep, as opposed to no sleep.
But you had a lot of sleepless nights.
Yeah, of course you have sleepless nights. We've discussed this before. You're never in a good place when you're not winning. I'm no different to probably 75%. I wouldn't say all the managers, but 75% of the managers will be in the kitchen having a coffee at 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning, their head spinning, their notepad out, back on their iPads or their televisions and looking back at clips and footage and trying to find a way to win football matches. And if you don't care, as much as that, what's the opposite?
You mentioned if there's no injuries or anything like that. So are you in a good place, good clean bill of health going into this game?
Yeah, we're in a good place. So,
setbacks?
yeah, Liam Kelly will train today, so he's come through his bout of illness. We'll have a look at Liam. He was on the grass yesterday as well, but he's in the group today. The only one we'll be missing is young Osapa Song, who's had a reoccurrence of his injury, so he's now gone to the new year, and we'll make a decision in the next week to 10 days, myself and Paul, and our recommendations will either be to bring him back for the second part of the season or move on. So he's the only one that won't be available for selection.
Given that news, do you see a real opportunity here over the next few weeks to sort of really get this season going now with people?
I think there's a tremendous opportunity. I've just said that we're looking at clubs who are still talking big aspirations of automatics. Lincoln City from Tuesday night being one. We have a game in hand to go 3 points behind Lincoln. They're having an unbelievable season if you live in Lincoln. We've had an atrocious season if you live in Rotherham. So let's just focus on the here and now. We have a big opportunity to get 3 points or add to our points tally at Blackpool tomorrow. It's a big week. Then we have Tranmere here in the Virtue Trophy on Tuesday. Then we have Northampton at home on Saturday. That's a big opportunity before we go into what's always a defining period in shaping tables, the Christmas schedule with Mansfield and Stockport, etc. over the holiday period.
It's often said that Christmas can be, a really important part of the season. You can almost turn a season completely around during Christmas. Is that just a cliche, or have you come across that in your career that can happen?
I know it can happen. I think it's because we obviously play 21st, 26th, 29th, 1st, 5th, or 4th or 5th, whatever it is. But for me, the good times Easter for me. I've always had a good Easter, not eating eggs, winning promotions.
Wanted to ask, no Cam Humphreys or Cohen Bramall in the squad. That's not an injury issue, is that just a selection issue?
Yeah, selection. Both have trained today. We'll pick a squad to go to Blackpool. If they're going to make the 18 or 19 that travel, then that's the case. We're a squad here. We're not 1 or 2 people are looking to see 1 or 2 players left out the squad. But early in the season, we were leaving players out. We're for the first time in a fortunate position. If you're the manager of Rotherham United, you're going to choose 3 centre backs. We just thought the other night that Raggett, that Jones and McCart were the 3 showing that form that said they should be in the 18. That's the only reason for Cameron and we Cohen. It was a case. We thought it was a game for Reece James.
Finally, the weather forecast is for storms and everything like that. And you had a similar experience at Crawley. Is there much you can do as a manager to prepare your team for that, or have you just got to get out there and play the game?
Well, we've got to get out and play the game. There's a multitude of reasons for the Crawley performance. Illness in the camp has gone. I'm not aware of a medical team tell me that anyone's ill today or yesterday or the day before. We on the Saturday morning before the Crawley game, as you know, it was like an emergency ward 9. Players getting sent home all over the place, players getting confined to the rooms, players on the bench ill, players starting the games that wouldn't have been anywhere near a football match. Now, had they been a fan, they'd have been at home in bed. But that virus would come into the camp is gone. So the minimum we'll do is we'll strip better conditionally wise at Blackpool as opposed to Crawley for obvious reasons.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
It's the battle of the 60-plus bosses tomorrow with yourself and Steve Bruce.
He's got more grey hairs than me, Brucey.
I mean, these days of formations and younger coaches, you know, all the guys got something to give as well.
Yeah, I think Steve Bruce has managed all across the levels, hasn't he? I've done battle with Steve, team versus team, many times. Certainly from my point of view, and I think from Steve's part, there's a huge mutual respect, not only for Steve, but for his assistant manager, Steve Agnew, as well, who's been a close friend to me for probably over 30 years. So from that point of view, there'll be a mutual respect, but Steve has got the same fire in his belly that I've got when we win a football match, and we're both trying to achieve the same things.
Yeah. To say you know your friends are when things aren't going as well. You've had long term, obviously, especially with Tony Stewart. I mean, and I remember in the past coming down to see you when you were getting pelters before a match against Bristol. Obviously, you have to stay strong together. And how does your relationship compare now to then, like 10 years ago?
Well, I think it's stronger. We're 10 years further friends, and where the more you become friendly, the more you can be open with each other, the more you can chat. But we had that friendship develop in my first spell here, and then what supporters would never be aware there was the amount of times that myself and our chairman met. You know, many times when I was manager of Leeds, Mansfield, whatever, we'd meet up, we'd have dinner, we'd meet up for coffee. That family, a lot of will be lifetime friends. Well, the chairman decides I'm the man going forward in the future, it's his decision and the board's decision. But even if that decision went against me, I'll be having dinner with him in a couple of weeks. And what people don't realise, I then don't come and talk football, we talk his business, we talk life, we talk generalistics, I think, as well. So, yeah, a really strong relationship.
Dylan, just how important was it to get a result in midweek against Lincoln and get that win under your belts?
Yeah, it was massive. Obviously, 3 points. Any part of the season is important, but after a little bad run of form, obviously it can hopefully spark us into a nice little run of games now, building up to Christmas, and it's obviously a busy time, so hopefully a bit more of the same.
Was that the kind of performance and to give the players encouragement to the belief that maybe you can still have the kind of season that you were hoping for this year?
Yeah, of course. Any win builds confidence, and sort of, I think, especially a home win in front of the home fans, everyone needed it. I think they needed it, we needed it. So yeah, hopefully that can be something to build off now. Tough game at the weekend. They're all tough, to be fair. But yeah, really looking forward to it and hoping we can back it up again.
What are the closing stages of a game like that when it's a 1-goal lead? You expect the opponent's going to throw everything at you, and you're a goalkeeper, you're organising things, you've got to be alert at all times, because you're going to expect they're going to have some chance at the end.
Yeah, they did throw everything at it, but to be fair, as a back line, and obviously from the front as well, we defended so well that I wasn't really called into action too much in the second half. So it's nice when everyone in front of you is doing a good job. But yeah, so they sort of took the pressure off me a little bit, heading balls and dealing with the long balls into the box that they were putting in. So yeah, the boys done excellent, I thought, in that regard.
How good is it having Sean Raggett back? Not just the fact that he got the winning goal, but just having his experience playing in front of you as well.
Yeah, he's obviously a brilliant player. The gaffer put him in the summer. Obviously had a good season last year, winning promotion. So yeah, both boxes. He's brilliant for us in both boxes. So yeah, that's what we need.
What has the competition been like between yourself and Cam Dawson? You both had opportunities to start, but what is it like when, I suppose, you are competing for a job every week?
Yeah, we get on really well day to day, so there's no issues there. Obviously it's not been the season that anyone wanted so far, so hence why we've obviously both had a go at it and had a little swap about. So obviously ultimately that's the gaffer's decision, so we're both fighting for the same place. Yeah, it can be difficult in that regard, but as I say, we've got a great relationship, so we just crack on, and whoever plays does their best.
Correct me if this is wrong, but it does seem like even when goalkeepers are competing for a shirt, they tend to get on quite well.
Yeah,
why is that?
Yeah, I don't know. You have to, really. Like, we work so closely together, so it'd be a horrible environment every day if that wasn't the case. I haven't had that much in my career. I've got on with everyone, so whether you're playing the lead role or you're playing the supporting act, you're only going to bring your best stuff if you're working in a good environment.
The weather's going to be interesting for this game. You mentioned a moment ago that was interesting for Crawley as well. What is it like being a goalkeeper in that situation where, you know, your hands, the ball moving in the air, a wet ball, it can all sort of play an impact in a game like this?
Yeah, I think when the game starts and the whistle goes, I don't think you think about it too much. Obviously, it's there before the game, the fault of the wind and the rain, etc. But yeah, I've looked at the weather and it doesn't look great, but it's just another obstacle that we'll have to deal with, they'll have to deal with. It's the same for both sides. It was difficult at Crawley and it was straight down the pitch, so it's sort of, they had the momentum in the first half with the wind and we just couldn't flip it round in the second half. But let's just see how we go.
Is it something you can get a good feel for, you know, in the warm-up? You know, just sort of getting the balls into the box, practicing that you can sort of feel, right, okay, the wind's doing this, this is how the conditions are.
Not really, you have to just play every ball on its merit, do you know what I mean? Obviously you find out which direction the wind is blowing in, but play each ball on its merit and take it from there.
Is it important to sort of build off this Lincoln result to go on a run now? It's good having one result, but ultimately you want to string a few together now.
Oh, it's massive, yeah. We don't just want to win one game and then lose two, and win one game and lose. We want to put 3 or 4 together. So that's the big challenge. Obviously, it's great winning Lincoln, but it doesn't mean much if we don't go and back it up. So that's obviously the aim.